That's pretty epic. Hello. Let's pull that music down. Everyone, hello, Town Hall. It is Friday, September 30th, where we are. Thank you for tuning in. We are running some music. Where's Albert's face? I think that's actually the most important question everyone was wondering for this Town Hall. The real answer is Albert hat or no hat. We saw the debut of Albert No Hat on last Town Hall. As soon as we get this music situation sorted out, Eunice, we'll get started here. Thank you. Okay, and the reveal. Albert, welcome to Town Hall.
Hey guys.
What's up,
How's
everyone?
everyone
Thank you for
doing?
joining us. It has been a wild few weeks since our last Town Hall. Nothing short of excitement. Thank you all for showing up. I know it's early and or late where you are, and I guess we got a lot to cover. There's a bunch of updates coming. There's a bunch of fun coming, and we'll all be jumping through kind of various parts of this agenda. So I'm gonna give you an intro, cover some fun stuff. The airdrop's coming. Invite codes, some DNA things. Kevin is going to dive through game mechanics, talk a bit about the updates that we announced recently and some recent metrics from the game. Albert will get into some crafting updates, general development things, stuff we've been working on the engineering side, as well as some cheaters. Ben touching on roadmap and state of the game, just what's coming up. Again, a bit of crafting updates, fun things there, some thoughts. We'll touch on questions from everyone, and then at the end, we will touch on the treasure hunt. I think a lot of people saw it coming. I know there was a lot of rumor. It's never a dull moment when there's a treasure hunt in the Genopets community. We're really excited to bring it back on the road to crafting. There'll be some fun and frustration along the way, I'm sure, with lots of winners and prizes to be had. So with that, jump right into it. We obviously updated a lot of the game mechanics. As I said, Kevin will get into it. If everyone hasn't seen the crafting recipe book yet, jump on to the white paper for Alkali's recipe book and some of the details there. It is going to be very important for the upcoming treasure hunt. We announced a couple big things recently, but the ones that I'm most excited for are doubling down on the community. If you guys haven't seen and haven't been as present in the server, one of my favorite things to do and say is to be out there thanking and taking feedback from all of you willing to give us your opinions, whether it's good or bad, or you think we're making the best or worst decisions. We want to hear from you. And the only thing we can do really is put ourselves out there and ask, because at the end of the day, we're building this game together. Yes, every time every decision is made, it won't always land. There will never always be a perfect solution, but there will always be a way to include your opinion and voice and interest in what it is we're doing together. You've seen the tipping the tipping thread take off every couple weeks. If you haven't heard what tipping is, it's a way for us, the team, to show up and thank those in the community that are active. You don't have to be DNA. You don't have to be even a longtime server member. But if you're here helping other people on the server out, showing up, putting your voice out there, you can be recognized by the mods and team as an active contributor to the server and receive some gene as a thankful tip of our gratitude. With that, we're also, of course, doubling down on the Genesis pets. Genesis Genopets, as we've said, have always been the most OG. Back to, almost a year ago now. I probably should have started this whole stream with that. It has been almost a year since we really kicked off a lot of this. I think our first tweet ever was in August, so I think we maybe missed that anniversary. The start of the Genesis pets is coming up. So I guess the 1-year anniversary of Genesis pets is coming up. We thought nothing more than that to be a great time to start doubling down on some of the benefits the Genesis pets will receive. Not only from a more, thank you, airdrop, fun things. Yes, there is a NFT based airdrop coming to the Genesis Genopets. That was necessary to say with mechanics updates. It will be treasure hunt crafting oriented, as some of you have rightfully guessed. But we're also, looking at ways to make the Genesis pets have more of a practical advantage in the game. That was one of the things we really looked at that I think Kevin will get into more on the game mechanics side of things. But again, doubling down on community, doubling down on the OGs that have been here from the start. Genesis habitat owners, we haven't forgotten about you. Do not worry. But we've always said the Genesis Genopets will be first. So yeah, with that, a few other things that I have on my short list to cover as sort of part of this intro, until we touch on treasure hunt more at the end, and I'll get into that. On the Android side of things, I know this is still top of mind. Google Fit was approved, for those that haven't heard. We are working fast and furious on the implementation, and the next builds of the next release of the Android app will include Google Fit. That should help a lot on the battery consumption and the step tracking side of things for Android users. Please bear with us. Thank you. I've heard and seen a lot of comments. We appreciate it, and we are always getting better together. The other community thing to touch on is DNA. DNA has always been, I think we started DNA probably about a year ago too, with, what was the start? Albert, Ben, do you remember what the start of DNA was? I don't know. I can't remember.
That was, I think it was pretty soon. It was around October, so almost a year now.
Almost a year now, right? And someone on the server is gonna be like, Jay, how do you not remember this? And maybe I just don't remember because I'm stream of conscious right now. But like the start of DNA was, I remember it was just picking a few people at first. We're like, we should have this better role. I think it was related to the egg referrals too. Does anyone recall offhand? Someone on the server is gonna roast me for this one. But the start of DNA was about a year ago, and it was our first attempt at creating a collective of people that really cared about this game. People that cared about the game, the vision, the direction we were headed. Elias, I literally just said that. Sorry, I'm starting to read the comments now. We're the first group of Genovians that were really excited to support and be a part of this game. DNA's always had special access to the team, i.e. we spend a little bit more time there. Ben shows up there every now and then, drops his favorite sneak peeks. But over the last few weeks, shout out Dragonville. We have a new, there can't be a town hall without a Dragonville Whitaker bot update. We have a new system where DNA, where the supporters and mods are able to upvote and downvote people into DNA. So we're starting to basically democratize the way people get into DNA. And the important part of that is, if you're active out there being helpful on the server, you will notice getting star emojis or X's on your comments. That basically is the other members of the server saying thank you for being helpful. And the way that adds up ultimately will allow the community to self-select who's in DNA. Recently, we've only been using it for the upside. We are going to start using it for the downside soon. Those of you that are in DNA that aren't being helpful or that haven't showed up on the server in a little while may get removed from DNA. No hard feelings, but we want this to be a self-selecting, ever-growing group of people that are active and helpful in the server. Thank you, Dragonville. Tanish, shout out if you are here. Cool. So that was just a heads up on DNA and community. Stay active. If you're not in the group, yes, you get invite codes for being in DNA. And then I guess speaking of invite codes, there have been invites going out every week. Certainly we will be ramping up the volume much more, and there will be much more marketing and growth soon. As you know, these things need to scale with control. We need to iron out and build out more fun experiences in the game as we start ramping up the invite codes too. Cool. Enough of me. You guys want to hear of all the actual things. I'll be back at the end with Treasure Hunt. Kevin, if you want to take it away on some of the updates with game mechanics.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Good to see everybody. As some of you likely know, we've rolled out and are in the process of continuing to roll out some big changes to the game mechanics. Everything from the steps to energy conversion change that's happening for pets, specifically for pets stages 1 through 3. Some changes to the harvesting efficiency mechanic for guild habitats, and as well as a nice boost in the works for Genesis Genopets. I'll kind of tick through some of them at a high level and we'll talk through our rationale and our reasoning there. Obviously, you can always find more details in the white paper and in all the documentation we usually release with these things. I think just on the Genesis Genopets, we're giving a 10% boost to energy gained from banking steps for these pets. It's just more in line with what Jay was referring to at the top of the call. We really want to double down and make sure that the player base and the game itself, from a mechanics perspective, recognizes just how special these pets are. There's only so many of them in the world, and they represent, and those who own them or secured them early on sort of were our very first earliest adopters, our biggest fans. So just continuing to support that pet type where we can. Harvesting efficiency factor for guild habitats. I know that this seemed pretty well received across the community. I know it's also raised its own set of challenges for players within this sphere, but we do think it's going to help overall with encouraging the right sort of play within the game now that the economy is live and key token is being earned for real, and steps have value now in the form of energy that can be harvested as key. We just have to be very disciplined and careful about how certain players or organizations are utilizing habitats across the ecosystem. So we've implemented a harvesting efficiency factor whereby basically if you repair your habitat, use up all of its durability, refine the crystals necessary to do so, really nothing changes. You're still able to harvest exactly the same amount at the same clip as you did before. But if you are a habitat holder who's playing in a more exploitative or extractive way, and you're not really, utilizing the mechanics of the habitat that were meant to be utilized, such as consistent repair, refinement, and ticking through that durability, you're going to pay for it, and you're going to pay for it in a way that limits the ability for you to harvest key out of the system. We're continuously, in communication with guild leaders and organization leaders on this front to make sure that it's Jay's back on the treadmill. That the rollout is something that isn't completely blindsiding them, that we can support where we can. We've certainly done a lot of extra analysis and numbers crunching to make sure that they're as informed as they can be. But obviously, this is still a live process. The economy itself is live, and so we have to continue to keep an eye on it. I want to take a moment to just talk about the steps to energy conversion changes. I know this impacts really everyone. Might be hard to believe, but we've got almost 50% of our daily actives are not habitat holders at all. So essentially, they don't even really exist on the chain, especially if they have a baby pet. They're just playing the walking game. Which is amazing to see, right? Because it really just shows that there's potential and appeal within the fitness pet care RPG itself. But really that means that we have to start thinking about that mobile game experience and making sure that there is balanced gameplay and that there's real meaningful progression for those players who are simply just walking and trying to level up and see what the evolution of their pet looks like. Just to give a bit of context into the situation before we started rolling out the steps to energy conversion change, like I think between a level 1 pet and a level 22 pet, from 10,000 steps walked, I think the level 22 pet got roughly 300 more energy. So just off the bat, especially now with the data that we have, but just at a high level thinking about that now, I think we realize like that is a pretty stark imbalance, and it doesn't reward the player enough for leveling up or having a higher level pet. If you guys have played any RPGs out there, really any classic pet care game or even just a non-pet care RPG, leveling needs to be meaningful, and it needs to confer advantages that further enhance the gameplay and then now unlock other options for the player, and just haven't really been able to materialize that with the old steps to energy conversion rate. Basically, everyone was earning energy at pretty much equivalent rates and kind of devalued the whole leveling system. So now what we've done is that we've made the steps to energy curve a lot harsher for earlier stage pets. But we've also scaled down the leveling requirements. So in terms of actual steps walked, time spent, days spent to progress through the levels should be roughly equivalent and proportional to what the experience was before. However, now leveling comes with real tangible benefits. You're going to see that you're going to get even more energy. There's momentum and there's a snowball effect that can happen from progression. Essentially, it becomes more of a dynamic game rather than, oh, I'm at level 1 and it doesn't really make a difference whether I'm at level 1 or level 10 or level 15, let alone, all the future levels that we have in front of us. Obviously, it's going to mean some short-term changes as we actually roll this out while still trying to make it as fair as possible for everybody. So, Jay, keep me honest, but I think by Monday, you'll want to use your energy up if you haven't used it already for leveling up, because once these changes take effect, we will be reducing the energy balance in players' accounts. Essentially, the energy that remains in your account was gained at a cheaper rate, so to speak, because of the step efficiency curve and where they were before. We're just going to be adjusting that now.
Let me chime in here really quick on that one, because I've only spent about 12 hours on the server this week talking about this with everybody. Thank you for all your feedback again. I mean that honestly, because there wasn't really a great way to do this, to implement this anyways. Yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, it's confusing. No one wants to feel like they're losing energy. By the way, I'm losing energy too. Yes, I stack up a lot of steps. I need to decide if I'm going to dump my energy to level up my baby, or if I'm going to put it on my Genesis, or if I'm going to wait and take the 68% haircut. A few just like additional comments around how we rationalize this. Thank you, Kevin. Like that's kind of the point. But in order to implement it, we had to reduce everyone's energy. It wouldn't make any sense to keep people where they were, and then suddenly the amount of energy you need to do stuff is way less. And the 68% number, honestly, is kind of a line down the middle. On average, based on different pet levels and how much energy people have and the change in the curve, I think I've seen a few people do the math better than me already on the server. And like 68%, in reality, there will be some people that maybe it's better for you to not use your energy. Am I going to recommend you that? No. I'm just saying, use all your energy. Figure it out if you don't want to use all your energy. We gave you the numbers. This is what's going to happen. If you're Genesis, we're going to give you a bonus because we love you and your Genesis. But that's just the way it is. If you want to do the math and figure out if it makes sense for you to do better or less, go for it. I'm sorry to anybody who was like confused by the situation or used all their energy and feels like I should have told them not to. Like I'm not. It doesn't really make any practical sense for us to go like figure out exactly what fits your case. So take a call, do the math if you want to. Don't do the math if you don't want to. Use up your energy. You're going to get more anyways. Leveling up your pet will have an advantage regardless. And thanks for rolling with us as we make these fun updates to the game in the earliest phases of its beta to make sure it's fun and rewarding for everyone. That's all. Said my piece. I only said that on the server like 12 times this week.
Cool.
Awesome.
I think that was all for me. Over to you, Albert.
Sure. Yeah. So my updates will be pretty quick. I'll spend more time answering questions later, and I'll save some time for Ben to give his usual more visual updates. But crafting smart contracts are going well. We've done most of our testing now, just integrating the contract with the front end. We'll start testing with some mods probably pretty soon. So you guys will see that. As usual, I can't promise on what the timing is. I will say that we were working day and night to get this to happen as soon as possible. And that's where treasure hunt comes in, because the treasure hunt that we're doing, we're trying to kill two birds with one stone. So the treasure hunt contract is actually the crafting contract. We're using it to test run crafting as well. So that will be exciting. And Jay will give more updates on crafting later. Yeah, and I see people asking about like how Jay's never tired. Yeah, he's kind of Superman, and I always look tired, right? Because I'm just always like looking at my computer all night, all day.
I will say between the two of us, I probably get a little more sleep, but
Yeah. Well, but you also get exercise. I need to get the treadmill too.
I'm telling everybody get a treadmill. Like
Yep.
I'd get no steps otherwise. Anyway.
Yep. Anyway, so that's the update for the crafting side of things. Ben will probably have some front end updates to sneak peek to show you guys. As for the app itself, like Jay said, we have been approved with Google Fit. We are doing some internal testing to make sure that it actually works better than our current system. We are submitting it for review pretty soon, so expect that it would be available in the Google Play Store. If a review goes through pretty quick, probably middle of next week or something like that. Another thing I wanted to tap on is cheat detection. A huge part of what our what the concerns has been from the community has been cheaters, as you can probably see on the leaderboard. We do have an automated banning system that we're doing now. So bans are going out pretty regularly, and we're analyzing the steps based on a variety of inputs. So I think right now what we're looking at in the back end is that our false positive rate is very, very low. Most of the I'd say it's like 90% plus of the people are have even after they try to appeal have been found to be actually cheating. So that's very good. We are working on more automated system in which the appeal process can be a little more robust. More updates on that later. And other than that, yeah. So I just want to tell you guys that thank you guys so much for sticking with us this whole time. I personally have been after we shipped habitat management, have been hard at work in getting our next next roadmap items out. So once we get to a point where they come out, I'll be more active on the servers, and it'll be fun to talk to you guys in general again. All right, so Ben, go ahead.
Thanks, Albert.
All right. Time for show and tell. Here we go. All right. Everybody see?
Yes, sir.
All right. State of the game, September 30th, 2020. See all of you guys again. It's been a while. It's been about 6 weeks, and a lot has happened. Par for the course for every one of these. As Albert was saying, crafting has been top of mind for us, the pure focus for most of our bandwidth. And so I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek so I can get going to be coming very soon. We're well underway in development on this, and so I wanted to show you what we were cooking. And when we spoke, this is where crafting was at. So you can see we were wireframing, trying to figure out the best way to make something that is very complicated, easy to understand, easy to use. And so this is where we are now. So showing you what the mobile view looks like. We've designed this for mobile first. We expect that some of you using Phantom Browser are going to want to have an easy time doing these things, creating things when you're on the bus or doing whatever you want to do, or running maybe. So here you are able to alchemize. You can put ingredients into the lab, and you can try many different ingredients and see what works. Some things may work, some things may not work. So we give you the opportunity to do a little bit of exploration and see, just like in alchemy, real alchemy. Well, no one knows what real alchemy is, but how I imagine alchemy would be like would be throwing things in a lab and seeing what works. And if it doesn't blow up in your face, then maybe you end up with something cool, like an absinthe crystal. So here you can see that once you do put the right ingredients into the lab, you will be able to see how much it costs. You can go ahead and alchemize it, of course, gene or S gene. And then from there, you have created a new item. So I'm really excited for you guys to try this out and see what you guys
managed to create. But once you've done that, in order to make your life easier, we have this recipe book as a concept you guys are probably very familiar with by now, and you're going to be very, very familiar with by the end of our treasure hunt. So once you've alchemized something, you'll have a recipe book, and that will make it easier for you to see the things that you've already crafted in the past. So you can just do a one-tap craft, and then you'll be able to choose the quantity of things that quantities of those things that you want to create. And so, of course, along with crafting, the ability to create things, you're going to have things. So last time we had this conversation, we were very happy, very excited about our models for the reagents and the crystals and everything. But now I'm actually a lot less excited about what I showed you, because what we have now is far, far better. We've been working very hard at really bringing these to life. We've gone from this sketch to a vector to a color to what this where we landed here with the 3D, but then we really wanted to push it an extra level and bring the liquid alive, get our glass refraction in there, get the light refraction, put in our particles, and we really want these to look good on the marketplace. We really want you to be excited about what you've created, be excited to use them, and everything in this game is supposed to be magical. So here's the antenna reagent, and from here we have the final view of the antenna reagent. And then, of course, along with reagents and crystals, the other things you can craft are the augments. So these are fully 3D rotating augment images that will also be out there on the marketplace, and that's what you're going to see when you craft as well. So you'll also notice here that I've put in the rarities. So we've got a code for our rarities. You'll be able to experience that. Another thing I'm really excited for you guys to experience. I'm gonna try to not spoil too much. It's supposed to be a sneak peek, so that's as much as you're gonna get on this for now. It's a quick glance at all of the different reagents and some of the crystals that you're gonna be able to play with. But take 3, 2, 1 more. Okay, and you're done. Oh well, this is recorded, so I guess you just go back. But that's fine. Aside from that, we've been continuing to improve the experience across the board. So the habitat in game. Last time you guys saw this, we had just introduced the skybox. We had just created this little piece of land for your pet to be on to replace that static background before. We've pushed this to another level again. Oops, excuse me. One thing that has always bothered me is the grass. We're pushing that forward. So we've got much more wavy, alive grass. Of course, it's subject to performance. So far on performance testing, it has done pretty well, but we will continue to optimize and make the habitat look better. So starting with the grass. Aside from that, lore. I realized looking back at all of the town halls that we've done, I've never really talked about our lore at all. I won't go too deep into it right now, but I just want to show you some things. But just know that we're working pretty hard at that. I realized I never showed you guys any of this artwork before. These are some really early sketches of some of the enemies. Big shout out to Chris for this amazing artwork. And really what we're trying to do here is a tiny tidbit about the story. It's a story about overcoming a lot of the challenges that we face in life, internal challenges we face in life, and we want to personify a lot of those internal challenges. So whether it's fear or guilt or shame or grief and these types of difficult things of life that we have to put up with and overcome, and then bring them to life and show what that might be like as a creature. So it's been really fun. This is, for example, sorrow. It drains energy. There's just ideas that we're playing with right now. And this one is probably the farthest along. This is a very, there's a lot of meaning behind this character. But if you've ever felt afraid, this might remind you of that. And, being encased and trapped in something is also not a good feeling. And so, anyway, won't say too much more, but there's quite a lot of depth to some of this these concepts. So I'm really excited for you to experience that too. And moving on. Sorry, that's a repeat. So on the Genopet front, we have also been working hard on pet expressions. So I've mentioned this before, but I also realized that we never really went deep into this for you guys. And of course, when you want to get to know your pet, and your pet is something that grows and you want to have a relationship with, it'd be nice to know what the pet's feeling. And so, of course, we've been working on this for quite a long time now, and we're getting around to the final corner on some of this, but your pet will be able to let you know when it's surprised, when it's happy, when it's confused, when it's angry. So you'll want to pay attention to the things that you're doing to your pet and what you're feeding it, maybe what your habits are, whatever it is, different ways for you to evoke different emotions out of your pet. So excited to show you that too. And last but not least, well, actually not second to last but not least, Battle. Of course, we've been working very hard on Battle as well. We've been playing with quite a number of different approaches, but all within staying true to our vision from the beginning, and we're combining our logic of using items and strategy. We really are building in. We're trying to find that happy medium between depth of game and complexity of game. We want it to be easy to pick up, but difficult to master. And so being able to combine the sort of thinking strategy with the mechanical, interesting and fun mechanical concepts. So what we're working with in the background right now, very, very, this is a super secret sneak peek, but it's an internal tool that we're using right now to play with what it feels like to tilt and rotate and use the phone as a kinetic input device as part of the mechanics of the game. So you'll have to be thinking really fast and solving problems, but you also need to be physically moving your phone, tilting it, rotating it. We're using this accelerometer to see how that play experience is and how that would factor into some of the strategy, how to use the items, which moves to use, which element to be, and then of course all that filtering down to how you're going to walk every day. What are you going to augment your pet with, and so forth. So we are tying it. So it's coming together, and I'm excited to show you that too. So, as Jay was saying, this is the last bit. As Jay was saying at the beginning, it's hard to really. It's pretty crazy, and it's already September 30th. So it really has been. It's over a year now, at least for some of us on the team, but definitely it's been a solid period of time since we started this. So I just wanted to take a short trip down memory lane. Just gonna show you guys some stuff. This little throwback section. It wasn't that long ago. It feels like forever ago because we don't sleep, but also not that long ago, really, in real terms. That we were, back in the day over here on the bottom, there's once upon a time we're just trying to figure out how to design even the modular system to put the pets together. How do we even create a pet system that works, that can actually, be customized and change over time. And we had to figure all that out, and we, first animation tests, and then communicating that, explaining that to all of our artists, and trying to make it make sense, because it's like very logical thinking that has to be applied to art thinking. It was a very interesting challenge. Sometimes I completely forget that we did that, and we had to do that. These are some really early, well, actually not that early, but this is towards the end of doing habitat lighting. Once we created the habitat, we really wanted to bring it to life. And so there's quite a bit of time spending on that. It was a very early baby minting Web3 concepts that we did. This is some of our documentation for how we're even going to put these habitats together, because it's the whole modular concept of how habitats are going to come together was also not easy. Some initial renders. Fun fact, in order to really test out some of our ideas of how the habitats would look and what they're going to be like, we're trying really hard to find all these tools to try and illustrate it and communicate it. And I just ended up using Starcraft Map Editor. So I don't know if you guys, any of you guys play Starcraft, any Starcraft fans in there, that map editor is really awesome. It's a really awesome tool. And you can see some of the inspiration. But I hats off to my favorite game ever for giving me life on that. And then of course, like endless spreadsheets of models and estimations of how do we balance everything. And as you know, we're continuing to do that. We'll always be doing that. And for those of you who don't know, once upon a time, intended this to be a landscape app. And so I designed the entire game in landscape once upon a time. And then we made a decision, hey, let's not be landscape anymore. So I redesigned the entire app to not be landscape. And that's what you guys see now. So anyway, it's been a long ride. At one point, this is what habitats look like. And they looked a lot worse than that. At one point, some of you guys remember, this is what the feeding and fetch game looked like. And that looks very different. So anyway, it's been a fun ride. It's been a great ride, and we're only just getting started. In fact, I would say we've hardly even begun. So thank you guys all for being part of the ride, and can't wait to show you what we got coming around the corner. And that's it.
Thank you, Ben.
Awesome.
That was the trip down memory lane was a surprise for me. I didn't know you were going to do that. I loved it.
Well, it is coming on 1 year anniversary, right?
We should probably celebrate the 1 year anniversary at the Genesis hatching.
Yeah,
I feel like that would be the most appropriate moment.
Yeah, Genesis was end of November, so we still have a little bit of time.
There's still a little bit of time. Cool. Can everyone hear the treadmill? I've been having treadmill problems. It's been started
it's
making
okay.
like squeaking noises.
It's not too bad in the background. I think we have some time. How much time?
I'm gonna touch treasure hunt. I'm gonna touch treasure hunt real quick, and then we'll do questions. I know Albert's probably burning to answer some questions right now. TLDR on treasure hunt. If you didn't decrypt the language yet, or you don't remember the language, or you need a refresher, find someone on the server to help you. There is a special Genovian alien language. I don't even know exactly what the language is called. To decrypt the message that was tweeted yesterday. The treasure hunt this time is focused around the recipes needed to fill out the recipe book for crafting. It's going to go live Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. UTC. Basically, as Albert was saying before, the treasure hunt is designed to, one, use the crafting contracts. So it is built on the same crafting system, but two, to take players through the experience of what crafting will be like, combining crystals, key, and gene into various recipes. You will have to find the recipes and figure out and solve puzzles. You're gonna have to listen closely because that is very similar to kind of the first treasure hunt experience. For those of you that weren't here, the first treasure hunt, there could only be 5,000 winners per week. There was puzzles you had to solve to collect crystals, and you collected all 5 weeks worth of crystals, you could craft your Genesis habitat. This time it's going to be a little bit different. Most importantly, the first ever legendary augments will be released in the game. They're coming as part of the recipe hunt. It's going to kick off on Tuesday. It's a one-time thing. These legendary augments will only ever exist through this recipe hunt, and there's actually only going to be 300 of them. So if you're doing math, because I know a lot of you like to do math way better than me, there are 3,218 Genesis Genopets. That's currently the most rare item in the game. The legendary augments for these for your Genopet, which, and Ben, correct me, but your augment can be applied basically to any level of Genopet, and it will dynamically change based on what Genopet you have. So everyone is eligible to have these augments, regardless of your Genopet. There's only 300 of them. So they're, more than 10 times more rare than a Genesis pet at this point. So if you have this legendary augment on your Genopet, you by far are going to end up being the most rare, OP, dopest looking Genopet in the Genoverse. In order to get the augments, basically you'll have to participate and compete every week. There will be a few weeks of puzzles. Those puzzles will unlock chances for you to win one of the augments at the end. In exchange for getting an answer correct and 180 key each week, so you're going to spend key on participating each week, you'll receive a missing page from Alkali's crafting notebook. Basically what that means is each time you solve the puzzle every week, you can get another chance to craft the recipe at the end. If you combine all 5 missing pages, you'll be granted one-time access to craft in the Legendary Lab. So solve puzzles each week. You can even solve each week multiple times if you wanted to. Collect sets of 5 recipes, and then 5 recipes together gets you a chance to craft and potentially get the Legendary Augment at the end of the hunt. When you craft in the lab, you will need crystals, key, and gene. Everyone will be getting something. So if you've solved all 5 puzzles and you've gotten the recipes and you go to craft in Legendary Lab, you will receive something at the end of the hunt, but only 300 people will have the chance to craft one of the Legendary Augments. In other words, there will be consolation prizes for everyone that participates, different augments, power-ups, etc. TBD on what those are. Stay tuned. You can basically craft multiple times if you want more chances to win. Tiers and the exact drop rates and what you're getting other than the Legendary Augments will be shared throughout the treasure hunt. Obviously, more details to come. That's the alpha. That's what's coming up on Tuesday. Yes, it's the road to crafting. Yes, it uses the crafting contracts. There's a lot of alignment here with what we're doing, both from a fun and a development perspective, to really get crafting going. We're really excited. Hope you all are too. The hunt kicks off Tuesday, 8 a.m., 3 p.m. UTC on the server. Cool. More details after that. But yeah, let's jump into questions. I'm sure maybe there's some questions about that, but
Yeah,
Albert, if you have specific ones, or I can run something.
yeah, I can answer some burning ones that I see people are asking right now, which is, will it be random for 300 or is it for the first 300 to solve? The answer is it's random for 300. It's to mirror how crafting will work, to get people familiarized with our on-chain random system. So every time you combine the components, there are chances to get different things, and 300 of them will be legendary. Yeah, so I think that's the main question that we have regarding this. There was also another question regarding whether augments are permanent. They are. You can equip it on your pet, and you can take it off after. It does not disappear, so it's not temporary. And the last question I see here regarding treasure hunt is whether you can use SGene in a hunt. Yes, you can, because it's based on the same crafting contract. Oh yeah, there's another really good question here. If I put crystals into try a recipe, will I lose crystals when the recipe does not work? No, you will only be able to burn your crystal if the recipe is actually a legitimate recipe. What will happen though is that the outcome is randomized. So every time you do it, it will come out with a different result. And these will be fairly transparent. We will have some of the basic recipes on our white paper, so you can refer to those. All right, Jay, I think there's a bunch of questions that people asked prior to this that we have a list of. I'll just address one of them that I've been seeing a lot, which is, any thoughts on increasing the benefits of owning a habitat? Because right now, free players can do everything that habitat owners can do, or landlords can do, except you have to pay rent for labs. And what reasons do players have to own a habitat over renting? And I will say that I think crafting will make that very clear. Right now, when all the things that you can do, the only thing you can do is harvesting key. It does seem that way. However, a huge part of crafting is using the lab capacity of your habitat, and that you can only get access to that if you are either an owner, which means you're a landlord, or you're an alchemist. But don't forget, alchemist actually pays a flat rate rent. So it's up to you as a habitat owner to figure out what that number is. And if the way we've engineered and designed the whole thing is that crafting will be the backbone of the whole economy. So the free market should balance out what that rent is. And if you are thinking about renting your alchemist spot to players, you should take into account all the costs of refining crystals to maintain it and repair costs. So putting that all in there will probably make it so that habitats will become the the passive income stream that you will hope for. So that's the main difference. I think once crafting comes out, we'll watch it very closely, and if we need more adjustments to make it make more sense to own a habitat, we will do so. But I think the thesis, we've only achieved half the thesis so far. Once we achieve the entire thesis, we'll see how it does. There is another question regarding SGene. Why is SGene on chain? The whole purpose of it was to be used in game. Well, if you understand what the model that we based on this for, it's Illuvium, and we say that very proudly every time that they are one of the projects that we really respect, and we were inspired by them to do the SGene. What they have is called SILV. The idea is that there is no real liquidity on chain. So if you were to do it with size, it doesn't really matter. So I don't think there is no reason to create something artificially restricted using something that's on server. And it's harder to engineer as well. So if you're seeing SGene being somewhere else, okay, yeah. If you see SGene being offered somewhere else, you're feel free to buy it. But I think as soon as crafting comes out and the demand actually straightens out, you won't actually find a lot of it available because there's a limited cap, right? So the emission is very controlled there. I'll pause here. I think I've been answering a lot of questions. We have 13 minutes left. If any of you have any questions you want to address, please go ahead.
Yeah, I see one popping up in different forms about whether the change to steps to energy conversion rates by level will be permanent. They will be permanent. And I don't think we will ever make these sorts of changes lightly. But I also want to be upfront and say that this game is a live game that is continuously being tested, and we are continuously not only studying the data, but taking in direct feedback from the community. And so I can't say that, the conversion rates won't be tweaked again sometime in the future. It's not in our plans, but we have to recognize that, not just our game, but games overall make patches and updates and balance their play constantly. And when you stop doing that, you end up having a very static game. So for us, this particular change is permanent. We did not make it lightly. We will never make it lightly. But we will also ensure do what we have to do to make sure the game is dynamic and that it has a clear skill-based and dedication-based progression system that rewards people for playing seriously and being better than others at the game.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. There's another question that this guy has been spamming, so I will answer it. Shouldn't we have a habitat deactivation system because it will take months to level up the pet? That is something we are considering. We will look at the data after Monday and make a swift decision on what to do about that. So stay tuned. Jay, do you have any questions you want to answer?
I feel like months is also an exaggeration. Like, people seem to be missing that we also reduced the amount of energy you need to level up. Like, yes, you get less energy per step. Yeah, we intentionally did it so that basically the time to level up is the same. You get less energy per step, but you also need less energy to level up. I don't know if people are missing that. And yes, there's no perfect way to change game mechanics, and someone's always going to feel like it didn't work out best for them. But that's just how it's going to be while we iterate and make this game better. I think those of you that are looking in the long term here, like, it only makes sense that that pets in general at higher levels have more of an advantage. It's been a sticking point for me all week. I appreciate you guys rolling with it. A lot of thought from the team and the community has gone into making these changes ahead of time. It's never going to be easy, but thanks for bearing with us.
There's a question regarding. There's a question regarding. Oh, it's from DK2. I think that's DK Random actually. It's about governance. When will Gene Stakers be able to vote on changes for the game? So we'll start working on that after our the next roadmap of smart contracts are done. So crafting is now done, but we need to just make sure it's fully hardened. And then getting items in and out of the game. That's where we are working on next. After that, governance is probably going to be the focus of the blockchain roadmap. And it's been the vision since the very beginning that gene token holders will decide on the emissions, because my philosophy has always been that governance is something that people just kind of say as a hand wavy thing, but when you actually have economic value that's being decided on, that makes governance so much more valuable. And you can see it in how Curve has done their governance, right? So if token holders actually get to decide on what the game mechanics are that pertains to economics, that will be what gives governance value. However, I don't think it's going to happen in the next quarter or the next 2 quarters. Hopefully, next 2 quarters is where we start working on it and start testing it out. And once everything stabilizes, this is our vision of how gene governance will work. Yep. Back to whoever.
Let me grab a few other ones here. One that's coming up about recipes is the permanence of recipes, and like, can you guess through recipes? Can maybe Ben or any of you talk a little bit more through how the recipes work? Can you guess it, or like, are there some recipes you have to find?
Yeah.
Or
So it's pretty simple. In crafting, in the lab, you'll be able to put anything you want into the lab. But not everything that you put in the lab is going to give you something worth getting or anything at all. Now, common, uncommon, and rares are possible by just putting ingredients in there. But then legendary and mythic items do require something called a blueprint. And that is something that you will have to get in through effort and through some other ways, whether it's through the story or through events and being engaged in the community and whatnot. Those are ways for you to get the necessary pieces to get those more advanced items.
I do see a few questions here that I want to answer. This question by Magipto. Will the free pet ever turn into an NFT? Any benefit to level it up, even if I have a Genesis pet? Yes, the free pet will turn into an NFT. There will be a level requirement before it can be minted in an NFT. And earlier, I was talking about how one of the contracts that we're working on is getting game items in and out of the game. That will be part of it. It will either be concurrent with crafting or after crafting. But that's something we're actively working on. And another question is, are the recipes on the mainframe or attached to our laboratory? That's a great question. The recipes themselves are a convenience feature because they are global. If you try something and it works, then you will receive that as a recipe on your mainframe tied to your account. So you can then craft it very easily later. Yeah. Okay.
Cool. The other one I saw, just to make it super clear, in the treasure hunt this time, you will need 180 key to attempt each week. So every time you attempt the puzzle, you'll be burning key. When you craft at the end of the puzzle or at the end of the hunt in the laboratory, you'll need crystals, gene, and key. So it's slightly different from the way it worked last time, just to clarify that for everyone. This is essentially like getting into the experience or paying into the experience versus last time where it was like a mad rush and there were only 5,000 available. We're trying it differently this time. Let's see how it works. I think it should make it more fun and less bot prone for everyone.
Yeah. So that also answers Proxy Julia's question, which is, will we only have one chance to get legendary augmentations during the hunt? No, you'll get as many chances as you want, but every chance requires the payment. So yeah, it's up to you to see how much it's worth.
I'll just go note on pet progression. I see a lot of people saying, "Oh, I won't be able to use my pet because it's such a low level now." For one thing, as Jay and Albert mentioned, the leveling requirements have been rescaled so that even though you may not be able to get to level 22 in just a couple days, you can drastically improve your steps to energy conversion with each level that you progress. And so even just leveling up a few levels can make a big difference. I will also take this chance to remind people that if you have a habitat and if you access habitat management on the mainframe, you can actually convert some of your key into energy. And right now, I think with the new prices and also with where key is at, you can actually buy the equivalent of just leveling up your pet from level 1 to stage 2 for roughly like 360 key or something. Now, obviously, this is on each player to decide what is important to them and what their strategy should be. But with the new framework, there are many more options, I think, than you might realize that are available. And you may decide if you have a habitat and you've been earning all this time, maybe it's time to use some of that key to beef up your pet to maintain your long-term viability as well. So there's a lot of different options, and definitely check out the white paper and speak to the mods, or even reach out directly on Discord if you have questions about that.
And also, if it's not abundantly clear for the treasure hunt, it will happen on our website. There will be a URL shared. It will be mainframe, like it will feel and be like the mainframe, similar to the last treasure hunt. You don't have to have a habitat to do it. There's a specific treasure hunt lab that will exist, special like a legendary lab that will exist during the hunt. So this is something that anybody can do, whether or not you even have an invite coder in the game. Yeah. Other questions people want to jump into? We have 3 minutes left. Can we take a last one?
So I'll answer Dimitra's question. Are there recipes that can only be discovered with level 2 or level 3 habitats? I'll give a higher level answer to that. Yes, there will be recipes in the future that will have habitat level or elemental requirements. So this is actually where Genesis habitats will also get a leg up, because Genesis habitats will be able to craft any element requirements. We don't have these. Set in stone right now in our current release, but these are all parameters that are able to be set. Is it possible that not all 300 legendary will be done? It is possible. Yes, it depends on how the math plays out.
Also on the Genesis benefits, let me just clarify it one more time as we're closing here. If you have a Genesis pet, you will be getting the crafting related airdrop. We have not announced when the snapshot is. We will announce a snapshot ahead of the airdrop, but that's one piece. If you're the energy drop for the Genesis pets, that snapshot will be as of when we first announced the change to the SEP efficiency. So the energy drop will go to those Genesis pet holders who had their wallet connected to their game account with the Genesis pet in it, as I said in the announcement. Future updates, guys, like you have your Genesis in your wallet connected to your game account. There's no other way for us to really know that you have a Genesis pet otherwise. But yeah, thank you everyone for being here, for supporting the project, for voicing your opinion, even when it's not in support of the project, as long as you do it respectfully. We want you to be here, to show up, to speak your mind. We appreciate it. We're only just getting started, and there's a lot to come. We'll see you for sure on the server. We'll see you for sure on Tuesday. Maybe we'll do a special hangout in the server when the treasure hunt kicks off. Again, appreciate all of you from the community, especially our mods, trial mods, DNA supporters. You guys, I see you every day on the server. Thank you, and good night or good morning.
Thank you.